You're listening to Up1Notch, a podcast where I explore the tech business world. My name is Mohammad Aoun, and I'm a growth accelerator for tech companies looking to scale their businesses. I'm sitting down with software industry leaders, startup founders, and tech experts. Tune in to hear about the latest and greatest from the tech world. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in to another episode of Up1Notch. My name is Mohammad Aoun. We talk about software development and IT industry in general, and we interview different industry leaders, just like my guest today, Luis Bravo. Hi, Luis. How are you doing today?
I am pretty okay, Mohammed. Thank you very much for inviting me, and really looking forward to our discussion.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Are you currently in Lisbon?
Yes, I am. It's a great place to be right now. It's sunny, and in like 2 weeks, we're going to have Augmented World Expo and IVRHA, so everyone is welcome.
That's great. That's exactly the type of event, I guess, where you want to be, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm expecting like to have around 2,000 like-minded professionals that are working on or are enthusiastic at least with the immersive technology field and all its possibilities. So it's actually going to be. I really have high hopes for it, and something different is going to happen also because it kind of started last week at the Immerse Global Summit. I, for the first time, met several people that I have been working for years in VR, but that now I was finally able to be in real life.
True.
And suddenly,
So they were
yeah,
actually there, or they were actually there in.
they were actually there
Oh,
exactly at the
yeah.
event, and they
Now
will.
you have
There will be.
now you have to ask because in augmented reality everything is possible. Like so, I just want to kind of clarify: were they actually there? Were they through the metaverse?
Exactly. So before, I actually worked with some of them throughout the years, and some of them like 3 years time, uh, and always in 3D worlds and in virtual worlds where we interacted. We had the gestuality. I would like interact through avatars with them and them with me, but now I was able to do that, and it's kind of again, it really is different in the sense that we already know each other and I already keep up with them, and then they also keep up a lot with what I do. So we know each other in a sense, but we haven't been like physically together, and that's actually some of the cool things that and big differences that happen before right now when compared to well pre-COVID.
Right. So Luis, let's start. Let's go back a little bit. So not exactly a little bit, I guess, because we're going to talk about, for example, the time, let's say pre 2000. So I know that you started off your career in pre 2000 era. So you've been involved in the IT industry since then. And then I mean, I guess I think around 2014 or so, you entered into this whole immersive technologies kind of the space. And then from there, obviously, you've been working with the Kit R, and now I hear that you've also written a book around metaverse. So why don't you go ahead and like a brief idea around the how it evolved and actually the technology evolved over a period of time, the last 20-25 years, essentially starting from, let's say, the web 1.0 all the way to immersive technologies, and then we can take it from there.
Okay, sure. Well, sure, but still, it's a big discussion. I'll try to keep it short, but yes, I started working in 1998 in the field of e-business and e-commerce and internet marketing and all those early jargons. Yeah, I feel right now, and as you said, I just wrote co-authored a book about the metaverse, and I feel that I'm still working in the internet field. So we're not talking about anything else. We're talking about the next iteration of the internet. In that sense, of course, it will be a bit different in the sense that we're not just talking about the infrastructure that we see right now connected to the internet, but I think that we're seeing pretty much the same thing and the same kind of reactions that we had like in the late 90s, because I remember like seeing several news pieces saying that Amazon was a fad, and then after, and eBay, and that afterwards Google was coming up, and everyone was talking, oh no, we just need like curated directories. That's the way to go. And you know, I heard like several people like putting down the internet and saying, no, it's really bad. Don't talk to me about the internet, because it's all like piracy and peer-to-peer sharing. And now you hear the same thing about Web3, because everyone is saying, no, it's Web3. They're all like scam artists. You need to like get out of that. We don't want to have anything connected with that. And I think that throughout the time, what I've seen is that we have been like adding to ourselves, and I work on marketing, in the intersection of marketing and technology. We have been able to communicate more and in more formats. And we started like with the mobile phone. Well, remember the time when this was used to just do calls? I do, probably don't, but I do. This was used just to do calls. And then we added messaging. And then we added social media, and through social media, photo sharing. And then we added video sharing. And then we added filters. And now we have augmented reality filters as a standard in communication through this. So it's 3D. So yeah, it really, what I think is that in like 20 years time, what we've seen is that a huge amount of transformations happened. These transformations happened at a quicker pace. Right now they accelerated, like things, so simple things like, for instance, 5 years ago, we weren't so emojis weren't so much in our lives, right? 5, 6 years ago, we weren't so maybe it was starting, but it was something that was not so rooted in our lives, right? It wasn't part of our vocabulary. Right now it's the more than mainstream. It's absolute part of our communication scheme, right?
Right.
So I think that clearly we need to be mindful that the speed is accelerating. There are a lot of different technologies that are converging. These technologies not only are they converging, they are spawning new ways of doing several processes, and well, being aware of what is happening in our lives and in our professional field is becoming
Right.
more and more of a challenge.
And talking about emojis, I do recall at least that part of the technology era where, let's say, in during high school and school, I mean, it was a big thing looking at Yahoo website and MSN, chatting over MSN, all of those things. And Yahoo had this specific feature. They used to have like a lot of cards. Like, for example, you could send a birthday card in an email to somebody, and that was like very creative. And then, I mean, I really enjoyed that feature back in the day. And who knew technology would come this far, this quick? But you're right. So fast forward, I mean, AR, the immersive technology, like ever since AR came in, and then virtual reality, and then extended reality, and now we're talking about metaverse. You've also written a book about metaverse. Can you talk a little bit more about what exactly is the metaverse? Like, for example, I know how do these terms like Web 3.0 and metaverse, what exactly are they
Okay, so okay, I'm like pumping up because it's kind of a long discussion. Well, not long, but sometimes you have several people, like as you said, they confuse the terms, and and it really is important to separate what Web 3.0 and the metaverse is as a whole or as a concept. So maybe we begin with Web3. So Web3 relates directly to a decentralized concept of the internet, so or of the web. So the purpose of Web3 is to allow all users to actually own uh, the web and to be more than just users, active parts of the governance of the World Wide Web itself. So in that sense, the whole scheme or the model around Web3 enables users, for instance, to and given its decentralization, it enables users, for instance, not to give data to big corporates. So in that, being that one of the biggest, if not the biggest, model of monetization today in big tech uh, around the world. So clearly, it's something that relates, or it's a model that relates directly with blockchain, and with again a mindset and a different governments than the one that we have right now.
Right.
So which is different from Web 3.0, which is sometimes hard to separate because Web 3.0 kind of focuses on a next iteration of the web that was proposed not by or not as a decentralized model, but as a new way to organize the web that we have right now. So focused on bringing more context to all the information that we have. So
Right.
that context would then allow for all the information to all the assets inside the information, sorry, all the assets inside the web pages to be able to be interpreted by artificial intelligence in a much cleaner and faster way. There's also a second proposition, which is the spatial web, which kind of picks up on the Web 3.0 and it puts it up one level, I think, and brings in also the spatial data interpretation and allows for this something, an asset like an object, a space, or even a person to be contextually understood and spatially understood, and in that sense allows for some of the navigation or a navigation of the metaverse to actually happen. So it's a proposal in that sense that already happened with that specific model, which is the spatial web. So until now, we talked about Web 3, Web 3.0, and spatial web. Now, the metaverse. So you have Matthew Ball wrote this book, which was kind of an instant classic. So it's very straightforward for us, the metaverse geeks, right? It allows us to, in a very clear way, for us to define the infrastructure of what the metaverse is. But if you propose, or for instance, if you say that definition of Matthew Ball's metaverse to someone that comes from the business side or that does not relate that much with tech, he has a really hard time understanding what the metaverse is because he is not into the details and he doesn't really want to be. He just wants to like understand how it affects, and at the same time, he wants to know also the challenges ahead. Now, that was pretty much what brought us to the book, because our purpose with the book is not to create science, is not to create a new way of seeing things. What we want is like to pick up on the metaverse topic and to break it down into smaller pieces and pieces that can be understood by a business professional in a way that he can just pick them up and like start analyzing it and start building on top of them of this knowledge in order to prepare for the foundational transformation that we are going to have, and it is going to be foundational.
Right. So talking about the basically the evolution. I mean, when AR and VR and all of these things technologies came about, obviously the most intuitive, at least for myself, use cases of them were around gaming and entertainment kind of industries, right? But what we saw essentially is that, I mean, I was having this conversation around with this specific industry AR and VR expert yesterday, and she was telling me about how they are revamping the whole experience around agriculture industry through the use of AR and VR. Like there's like huge technology deployments that are helping through the AR and VR to train people around better agriculture, but also kind of implementing that like in the agriculture industry. Now you also work on in the manufacturing segment, right? When it comes to your company, Kit AR, it helps kind of remove errors in the production line in a manufacturing setup. How does that really work out? Like, how does AR and VR come into play when it comes to, like, for example, improving manufacturing industry?
Sure. Well, the manufacturing side has been one of the, I think it was one of the first areas and markets to feel the impact of immersive tech. It started much more on simulated environments. So training, onboarding, even marketing materials were being produced using augmented reality and virtual reality technologies. But today, there is already a level of maturity in the market, in the tools, and also a level of infrastructure that enables for tools like ours to be correctly and successfully implemented in bigger companies and in production lines, and to help perform critical operations. So on our side, what we do in a very quick nutshell, we provide augmented reality guidance to workers on the production lines, or production cells. And on the shop floor, they can not only follow the guidelines, but they can also perform automatically quality checks. So they can like look to the output of a work on their workstation and see if the process was well done. If not, the glasses, we're talking about usually hands-free use cases, so they usually wear headsets. They will prompt what they need to do in order for everything to be correct. And then at the end, we capture the processes and we show workflows in a way that the engineering area can go in and they can like identify bottlenecks and continuous improvement opportunities. So this can only be done because today we have the infrastructure like 5G available, and also we have in several factories the systems in place for this to run. Of course, there are several other players and several different levels of digitalization across the industry. So you have a lot of companies that right now are on Industry 4.0, but some of them are like way back. So it's, I think, sometimes a matter of also trying to help the companies the best way possible. And in that sense, also be mindful that, again, emerging tech, it presents a lot of opportunities for businesses, but it's before using emerging tech, it's also very important to have several other things in place.
Right. And I think that we're still a long way to actually really see how these technologies will actually play a role in all of these industries at a larger scale. I mean, we're still early on in the phase, I guess, because I mean, I was looking at this TED talk, I think it was a TED talk or something like that. And they were talking about essentially the evolution of these, for example, immersive technology kits. Like, for example, they gave the example, like, for example, when we started off with computers, they were like huge, and if it fell on somebody, somebody could die, right? So, but then they evolved into these computers, and then from there to laptops, and similarly from like mobile phones, right? We've seen the evolution of that. So they were talking about, like, for example, previously the headsets and all of this Oculus Rift gear set and all of those things were really kind of like not very convenient to be using that, right? But as we move forward, it's more like we're going to be wearing our eyeglasses, and essentially they'll have that AR and VR functionality within that, and we'll be able to leverage these technologies. And similarly, I think I was looking at this statistic, like hugely kind of very motivating statistic that basically, and it was from PwC, they said that immersive technologies can drive significant process improvements with potential to boost global GDP by $275 billion by 2030. So that's like what, we're already in 2022, and like 8 years time is no time as far as technology developments are concerned. So definitely these technologies will develop, and we'll see some more and more exciting things as we move forward, specifically in the manufacturing industries, but also in other industries as well.
Yeah, I love estimates. You have like a lot of estimates. Like I think the biggest one I saw was from McKinsey, I think, that said that the metaverse market could go up to 13 trillion. And that's too big a number for me to wrap my mind around. So it's, again, I what I do see is that right now you already have like really interesting numbers. For instance, there's already a unicorn in VR, social media platform in VR that already owns like 5 million users. I'm trying to recall the name, unfortunately. Yeah, but it's something that implies that everyone that it's Rec Room, sorry, Rec Room, and implies that everyone registered has a VR headset. So you already have, like, for instance, I think it was like last year, Oculus alone, so Facebook, Meta's, sorry, brand for VR, they sold something in the vicinity, I think, of 11 million headsets. So this is interesting in the sense that if we compare it with, for instance, PlayStation sold around 6.5 million. So of course, we're not comparing the same things, but
that gives us
I
an
think
idea. That gives
exactly.
us an idea.
So that it's something that is already brewing. It already has is starting to have a bigger impact than the one that maybe had like last decade. And I think, again, we heard a lot about immersive technologies in the last decade and even previously. And throughout the years, we were hearing something like, "Oh, this is the year of augmented reality. This is the year of virtual reality," and it never happened. Why? Because there's no one said that this was going to be the year of GSM. This was going to be the year of UMTS. No one said that because no one cares about the technology. People care about the benefits at the end of the day. So we won't care about augmented reality. We will care about, again, services like Rec Room, services that allow us to connect, that allow us to work better, that allow us to learn better, that allow us to do more stuff, to reinvent. Like, for instance, one of the cool things that I saw like lately in a startup was this. They had this tool that allowed us to edit a reality, so augmented reality tool that allowed us to blog spatially. So people would drop like messages, and other people would see those messages, and those messages could be like edits to reality. So
Right.
again, I think at the end, it has to do with much more with the content, the experience that people will have there, much more than the technology itself. And that's why I do believe that this is going to be such an important decade, because I think this is the decade where these services are going to appear.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Luis, for taking the time for this podcast. It was very beneficial having you on the podcast, and have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mohammad. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you.
Cheers.